Our world is a whirlwind of notifications and endless demands. Yet 2,000 years ago, a group of philosophers perfected a mental toolkit for unshakable calm. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, wrote the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. This video will unpack that ancient Stoic toolbox, transforming abstract philosophy into practical objects, symbols, and methods you can use right now to build a life of profound serenity. You will discover how to visualize and apply powerful mental models that turn chaos into clarity. How can a simple change in perspective disarm your greatest anxieties? What does it mean to love your fate, even when it brings hardship? By the end, you will possess a complete set of tools to navigate modern stress with the wisdom of a Stoic sage. What is the one thought you keep returning to that shapes your entire day? How much of your daily stress comes from trying to control the uncontrollable? This very question lies at the heart of the first and most vital tool in the Stoic toolbox, a mental compass known as the Dichotomy of Control. The philosopher Epictetus, a former slave who founded his own school of thought, laid it out with stunning clarity. He wrote, "Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever are our own actions. Not within our power are our body, property, reputation, command, and, in a word, whatever are not our own actions." This is not just a philosophical idea. It is a practical filter for your entire life. Your own judgments and actions are yours to command. Everything else, from the weather to the opinions of others, exists outside your direct command. Grasping this distinction is the first step toward true serenity. Think about a morning commute stalled by a traffic jam. You can feel your anxiety rise, your grip tighten on the steering wheel. But is the traffic itself within your control? The Stoic answer is a firm no. Your reaction to the traffic, however, is entirely within your power. You cannot force the cars to move, but you can choose to listen to an audiobook, to take a deep breath, to accept the delay without letting it poison your mood. This simple shift from fighting reality to managing your response disarms the situation of its power to cause you distress, or consider a work deadline. You worry constantly about whether your boss will like the final product. The Stoic compass guides you to focus solely on what you can control: your effort, your preparation, the quality of your work. The final approval, however, rests with your boss. It is an external. By pouring your energy only into your own actions, you replace frantic worry with purposeful calm. So take a moment and bring to mind 3 things that are causing you worry right now. Write them down if you can. Now, beside each one, honestly ask yourself, is this within my control or is it not? This single act of categorization is the practical application of the Stoic compass, instantly clearing mental clutter and directing your energy where it can actually make a difference. Your current problems viewed from the edge of the galaxy would appear as tiny, fleeting specks of dust. This is the essence of the second Stoic tool, a mental panorama known as the view from above. It is a deliberate shift in perspective, a way of rising mentally above your immediate circumstances to see your life as part of a vast cosmic whole. Marcus Aurelius constantly practiced this, writing in his private journal, "You can rid yourself of many useless things among those that disturb you, for they lie entirely in your imagination." You will then gain a wide room for yourself by comprehending the whole universe in your mind. He was not escaping reality. He was putting it into its proper, humbling scale. When you are trapped in a heated argument, every word feels like a monumental blow. Your heart races, your focus narrows to the conflict. Now, practice the view from above. In your mind, pull back from the room, see the building from above, then the city, then the continent. Watch the planet, a blue marble spinning in the void. From this vantage point, how significant is that single disagreement? Its emotional weight diminishes not because it is unimportant, but because you have reconnected it to a larger reality. This mental zoom lens does not erase your problems. It gives you the clarity to see them for what they truly are, small episodes in a long and magnificent story. The next time you feel overwhelmed by a deadline, a social slight, or a moment of panic, pause for just 10 seconds. Close your eyes if you can, mentally launch yourself upward. See your street, your town, the curve of the earth. What changes when you view your struggle as one tiny thread in an immense cosmic tapestry? What if your greatest obstacles were actually gifts in disguise? This is not a comforting platitude, but the radical core of the third Stoic tool, Amor Fati, a Latin phrase that translates to a love of one's fate. It is the active, deliberate embrace of everything that happens to you, the good, the bad, and the profoundly inconvenient. The German thinker Nietzsche would later champion this idea, but its roots are deeply Stoic. It is the ultimate shift from seeing life as something that happens to you to seeing it as something that happens for you. This is not passive resignation. It is not about gritting your teeth and enduring hardship. It is about actively engaging with every event, especially the setbacks, and finding the fuel for your growth within them. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. See your obstacles not as barriers but as fuel." Your fate, with all its twists and turns, is the very material you have been given to build a life of character and resilience. Consider the story of the philosopher Musonius Rufus, who was exiled from Rome to a barren, desolate island. A lesser person would have seen this as a crushing defeat, the end of their influence, but Musonius did not complain. He saw his exile as a new classroom. He began teaching the local inhabitants, turning his place of punishment into a place of purpose. He loved his fate so fully that he transformed it. His obstacle became his greatest platform. Think about a project at work that failed spectacularly. The immediate reaction is often frustration and a desire to forget it ever happened. But Amor Fati asks a different question. What did that failure teach you about your approach? Did it reveal a hidden strength in your team, or a crucial flaw in your planning that you can now address? By loving that outcome, by accepting it fully, you mine it for its invaluable lessons. So bring to mind a recent difficulty in your own life, something that felt like a setback. Now ask yourself this single, powerful question. What is one positive outcome or lesson that this situation has brought me? Perhaps it taught you patience, or it revealed who your true friends are, or it forced you to develop a new skill. This simple act of reframing is the practice of Amor Fati. It is how you stop fighting your story and start authoring it with intention. Within you is a fortress that no external event can ever breach. This is the Stoic concept of the inner citadel, the inviolable core of yourself where your true freedom and judgment reside. It is not a physical place, but a powerful mental visualization for unshakable resilience. Marcus Aurelius wrote of this often, reminding himself, "People seek retreats for themselves in the country, by the sea, or in the mountains. But this is altogether unlearned when you can at any moment retreat into your own mind." Nowhere can a person find a more peaceful and trouble-free retreat than in his own soul. Your own mind is the ultimate sanctuary, always accessible, no matter the chaos outside its walls. Picture a literal fortress made of stone, standing firm against a raging storm. The winds howl and the rain lashes, but inside the central keep, there is quiet and calm. The storm represents the outside world with its criticism, its pressures, and its constant demands. The quiet space within the keep is your inner citadel, the place where your core values and rational judgments remain untouched. You can always choose to retreat there to find your center. Think about navigating a chaotic workday where emails are flying and deadlines are shifting by the minute. The external environment is pure noise, but by consciously withdrawing into your inner citadel, you can observe the chaos without being consumed by it. You can make decisions from a place of principle, not panic, or imagine facing a social media storm of conflicting opinions and harsh judgments. The digital world tries to storm your gates, but within your citadel, you can hold fast to your own reasoned convictions, unaffected by the trending outrage of the moment. This is not about hiding from the world, but about engaging with it from a position of unassailable strength. So take a moment right now to visualize your own inner fortress. What does it look like? Is it an ancient stone castle, a serene garden, a quiet library? More importantly, what does it feel like when you are centered there? That feeling of calm sovereignty is your birthright, a space you can return to whenever the world becomes too loud. What if you could vaccinate your mind against future anxiety? This is the precise function of the fourth Stoic tool, a mental shield called Premeditatio Malorum, the Premeditation of Evils. It is not a practice of pessimism, but a profound exercise in emotional preparedness. By deliberately visualizing potential setbacks or losses, you strip them of their power to surprise you, and in the process, you awaken a deep gratitude for the blessings you currently possess. The Stoic philosopher Seneca explored this idea extensively in his letters, advising his friend Lucilius to rehearse in his mind exile and torture and all other accursed evils. Why would anyone do this? Seneca explains, he who has been in fear of everything as though it would happen has had perfect peace of mind. By facing potential hardships in the safe theater of your own mind, you build a resilience that real life cannot easily shatter. This practice transforms the unknown into the familiar, making you the author of your fears instead of their victim. Consider your job. For a moment, vividly imagine losing it. Feel the initial shock, the worry about finances. Then follow the thought further. See yourself updating your resume, reaching out to your network, discovering new opportunities you had never considered. This mental rehearsal does not invite misfortune. It prepares your response, ensuring that if such a day ever comes, you are not paralyzed by panic but guided by a plan you have already walked through. Or think of a cherished relationship, briefly contemplate its potential end. This is not meant to breed distrust, but to ignite a powerful appreciation for every conversation and every shared moment you have right now. The temporary nature of things is what makes them precious, and this practice forces that truth into the light. So today, choose one thing you value deeply: your health, your home, a person you love. Spend just 30 seconds mentally practicing its loss. Then, when you open your eyes and find it still there, notice the wave of relief and gratitude that follows. This heightened appreciation is the shield's immediate reward, fortifying your serenity against the sudden storms of life. The Stoics had a North Star for character, a figure they called the sage. This was not a historical person or a perfect being they expected to become. It was a symbolic ideal, a model of perfect wisdom and virtue used as a constant reference point for their own conduct. Seneca described this wise person as one who is complete, matching the power of God, equal to all things, and rising above all fortunes. Think of the sage as a compass, not a destination. Its purpose is not to make you feel inadequate, but to give you a clear direction for your moral and rational growth. When you face a complex decision or a moment of anger, you can pause and ask a single, powerful question. What would the sage do in this situation? This instantly shifts your focus from a reactive impulse to a considered, virtuous response. Imagine you are about to send a sharp, defensive email after receiving criticism at work. Your emotions are running high, but then you invoke the sage. The ideal wise person would not act from wounded pride. They would assess the feedback with calm detachment, extract any useful truth from it, and respond with grace and reason. That simple mental check creates a space between the stimulus and your reaction, a space where your better judgment can take over. Or consider a moment of temptation, perhaps to cut a corner for a small, immediate gain. The sage, guided by unwavering integrity, would see the long-term cost to your character and choose the harder, right path. This tool turns abstract philosophy into a daily practice of self-assessment. It is a way of steering your ship by a fixed star, ensuring that even in turbulent seas, you are moving toward virtue. So consider one area of your own life where you often feel conflicted or reactive. It might be in your parenting, your friendships, or your personal discipline. For the next week, before you act in that area, silently ask yourself, what would the ideal wise person do? Notice how this simple question begins to reorient your choices, pulling you steadily toward a more serene and principled life. The Stoics kept a skull on their desk, not out of fear, but as a reminder. This is the practice of Memento Mori, a Latin phrase meaning remember you must die. Far from a morbid obsession, it was their most practical tool for living a vibrant and meaningful life. It acts like an hourglass for your time, a constant visual that the sands are always flowing, urging you to prioritize what is truly essential. Marcus Aurelius wrote deeply about this, advising himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. He saw death not as a terrifying end, but as a natural, inevitable part of the universal process that gives our finite days their precious weight. This symbol is a jolt out of complacency. It shatters the illusion that we have endless tomorrows to finally start that project, mend that relationship, or live according to our deepest values. When you internalize that your time is limited, trivial distractions lose their grip and a powerful clarity emerges. You stop postponing your life. A modern equivalent of that skull on the desk could be a simple phrase set as your phone wallpaper. Words like memento mori or this moment is all you have serve as digital nudges, pulling you back from autopilot throughout your day. Every time you check the time or scroll through messages, you are met with a gentle reminder to use your attention wisely. So bring this practice to life with a single, powerful question. If you knew for certain that this was your last week, what would you do differently today? Would you waste hours in anger or anxiety, or would you express love more freely, engage in work that matters, and savor the simple beauty of an ordinary afternoon? This is not about fear, it is about liberation. Remembering your mortality is the key to unlocking a life lived with urgency, virtue, and profound appreciation for the gift of now. What if you could install a mental pause button between an event and your reaction? This is the precise function of the discipline of Assent, a core Stoic method for guarding your inner peace. Epictetus taught that we are disturbed not by events, but by the judgments we form about them. He said, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. The discipline of Assent is that crucial moment of hesitation, where you intercept a raw impression before it becomes a full-blown, disruptive belief. It is the gatekeeper of your mind. Imagine you receive a blunt, critical email from a colleague. The initial impression is a sharp sting of insult, a surge of defensive anger. Without the discipline of Assent, that impression rushes in unchallenged, and you instantly fire back a heated reply. but with this practice you press that mental pause button. You observe the impression, you label it, this feels like an attack, then you apply your rational judgment. Is the entire email an attack, or is there a kernel of useful feedback buried in the harsh delivery? You consciously choose to assent only to the factual core, perhaps one valid point about a missed detail, while withholding your agreement from the emotional charge and the sweeping generalizations. You respond to the signal, not the noise. The next time you feel that familiar surge of anger in a conversation or a pang of hurt from a passing comment, practice this pause. Do not react, simply notice the feeling arise. In that quiet space between the trigger and your response, you will find your freedom. What changes when you stop accepting every first impression as the absolute truth? The Stoics saw the universe as a single, living organism, and themselves as a part of it. This profound interconnectedness is the heart of Sympatheia, a concept that transforms how you relate to everyone and everything around you. It is the understanding that we are all strands in the same cosmic web, each of us a vital part of a greater whole. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully when he wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." He constantly reminded himself that he was not an isolated individual, but a citizen of the world. This world view is a powerful antidote to the modern sense of loneliness and separation. When you feel disconnected or at odds with someone, Sympatheia invites you to zoom out and see the larger picture. That difficult coworker, the stranger who cut you off in traffic, they are not separate adversaries. They are fellow expressions of the same universal reason, playing their own part in the intricate dance of existence. Your frustration with them begins to soften when you realize you are both leaves on the same great tree. This is not a vague spiritual idea. It is a practical tool for cultivating empathy. The next time you find yourself in a conflict, pause and apply this lens. See the other person not as an obstacle, but as a limb of the same body. If your hand accidentally struck your face, you would not respond with hatred toward your own hand. You would seek to understand what caused the miscoordination and work to heal it. This is the spirit of Sympatheia. It encourages you to act for the common good, because harming another is ultimately like harming yourself. Think of a recent disagreement that left you feeling angry or misunderstood. Now, reconsider that moment through the Stoic lens of universal connection. How might your perspective shift if you saw that person as a necessary part of the same living universe you inhabit? This simple reframe does not excuse poor behavior, but it drains the situation of personal animosity, replacing it with a calmer, more compassionate understanding. The most powerful tool in the Stoic Toolbox might be a simple notebook and pen. This is the practice of the Stoic Journal, a daily mirror for the soul that turns fleeting thoughts into a structured path toward wisdom. It was not about recording events for a future audience, but about holding a private conversation with your own judgment. Both Seneca and Marcus Aurelius were avid practitioners of this art. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, one of the most profound Stoic texts ever written, was never intended for publication. It was his personal journal, a series of notes and reminders written to himself during military campaigns, a raw and honest dialogue aimed at reinforcing his own principles. Seneca, in his letters, constantly advocated for the evening review, writing that we should call our minds to account each day. He asked himself pointed questions before sleep, demanding to know where he had faltered and where he had stood firm. The journal serves three primary functions, each a pillar of self-awareness. The first is the evening review. At the end of your day, you look back with a calm and objective eye. You are not seeking to punish yourself, but to learn. You ask, what did I do well today? Where did I act with virtue, perhaps with patience in a frustrating moment or with courage in speaking a difficult truth? Then, with equal honesty, you ask, what could I improve? Did I lose my temper over a trivial matter? Did I waste energy worrying about something outside my control? This is not self-criticism. It is self-correction, like a sailor adjusting the ship's course after checking the stars. The second function is morning preparation. Before the day begins, you open your journal to plan your responses. You anticipate the challenges ahead. You might write, "Today I will likely face a difficult meeting. I will remember the dichotomy of control, focusing only on my preparation and my calm demeanor, not on the reactions of others." This mental rehearsal sets your intentions, priming your mind to respond with virtue instead of reacting with raw emotion. The third function is the clarification of thought. Writing forces vague anxieties and swirling impressions into clear sentences. A nagging worry about finances, when written down, often reveals itself as a specific problem with potential solutions, or as an external event you must simply prepare for and accept. The act of writing itself is a form of therapy, creating order from internal chaos. A simple template can guide your hand. Each evening, try answering just 3 questions. What is one thing I did well today? What is one thing I could improve tomorrow? And what are 3 things, however small, that I am grateful for? This final question weaves the practice of gratitude directly into your Stoic reflection, reinforcing the love of fate you are cultivating. Tonight, before you sleep, take just 5 minutes with a notebook. Do not worry about elegant prose. Focus on one Stoic principle you either practiced or struggled with today. Did you successfully use the view from above to put a problem in perspective? Or did you find yourself assenting to a negative impression about a colleague? Write it down. This single act of reflection is how philosophy moves from an idea in a book to a lived reality, transforming your daily life one honest entry at a time. For the Stoics, there was only one category of good, and it had nothing to do with money, fame, or comfort. The single true good was virtue, the excellence of your own character. Everything else, from health and wealth to sickness and poverty, was classified as an indifferent, meaning it held no inherent power to make you good or bad, happy or miserable. This radical idea redefines the entire landscape of a successful life. Your worth is no longer measured by your bank balance or your social status, but by the strength of your integrity, your courage, your wisdom, and your self-control. Success becomes an internal victory, and failure is only what corrodes your character. The philosopher Epictetus, who began his life in slavery, put it with ultimate clarity. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. What he has, first and foremost, is his own virtuous mind. Consider a critical decision at work. You are pressured to approve a project you know is flawed, simply because it will bring a large financial bonus. The external reward, the profit, is a preferred indifferent. It is nice to have, but it is not good in the Stoic sense. The virtuous choice, however, is to be honest and reject the project, even at the cost of the bonus. That act of justice and courage is the true good, because it strengthens your moral fiber, which is the only possession that can never be taken from you. Now bring to mind a significant choice you made recently, perhaps a difficult conversation you had or a goal you pursued. Ask yourself this revealing question: was my action guided primarily by a desire to act with virtue, or was it driven by the lure of an external reward or the fear of an external punishment? The answer reveals whether you are building your inner citadel or furnishing a temporary shelter that the next storm could easily blow away. How often is your mind lost in regrets about the past or anxieties about the future? This constant mental time travel is the very thief of our serenity, pulling us away from the only reality we can ever truly experience, the present moment. The Stoics understood that peace is not a destination to be reached tomorrow, but a way of engaging with the here and now. Seneca captured this with piercing clarity, writing, "The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today." You are arranging what lies in fortune's control and abandoning what lies in yours. When you are worrying about a future presentation, you are living in a phantom reality, sacrificing the tangible reality of this breath, this room, this moment for a story that has not yet happened. You abandon your own actions which are within your control for an outcome that is not. The art of contentment, then, is the practice of fully inhabiting your present experience, whatever it may contain. It is not about passive acceptance, but about active, engaged attention. The chaos you fear is almost always in the future. The resources you need to meet it are always in the present. To build this skill, try a simple exercise right where you are. For the next 60 seconds, focus your entire attention on a single, mundane sensory experience. It could be the feeling of your breath moving in and out of your body, the subtle weight of your clothes on your skin, or the complex play of light and shadow on the surface in front of you. Do not try to change it or judge it. Simply observe it with the curiosity of a scientist. You will notice your mind immediately tries to wander, to pull you back into its familiar stories of past and future. This is normal. The practice is not to achieve perfect focus, but to notice the wandering and, without criticism, gently guide your attention back to your chosen anchor. This is the micro-practice of Stoic presence. For the next hour, carry this intention with you. Whether you are walking, talking, or working, make a quiet pact to be fully there. Notice when your mind drifts into planning or regret. Each time you catch it and return to the present, you are not failing. You are succeeding, performing a single repetition in the gym of your mind, strengthening your capacity for serene engagement with the life that is actually happening to you right now. The Stoics did not see walls, they saw doors hidden in plain sight. This is the alchemy of adversity, a principle that transforms every barrier into the very path forward. An obstacle is not something to be avoided or cursed. It is the raw material for building a stronger character, the training ground where your virtues are forged in fire. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire plagued by war and pestilence, wrote this directive to himself: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is the core of the philosophy popularized today, a mindset that does not ask, why is this happening to me, but what is this making of me? Every challenge is an invitation to practice a specific virtue. A financial difficulty is a drill for resourcefulness and temperance. A difficult person is a sparring partner for patience and understanding. A failed project is a lesson in humility and resilience. The obstacle is not the interruption of your path, it is your path. Consider the Roman senator Cato the Younger, a staunch defender of the Republic. His political opponents constantly threw obstacles in his path, slandering him and blocking his efforts. Yet with every setback, Cato's defiance did not weaken, it intensified. He used each public attack as a platform to demonstrate his unwavering integrity. The very things designed to break him became the stages upon which his virtue shone brightest. His obstacles became his way. In a modern context, imagine a talented professional who is suddenly laid off from a long-held career. The immediate obstacle is immense financial pressure and a blow to identity, but by applying this Stoic lens, the layoff is reframed. It is not a dead end. It is a forced doorway. It becomes the necessary push to finally start that business they had always dreamed of, to retrain for a more fulfilling field, or to reconnect with what truly matters outside of work. The obstacle, embraced fully, creates a new and often better path that would never have been discovered otherwise. So bring to mind one current obstacle in your own life. It might be a strained relationship, a health concern, or a project that seems stalled. Now, ask yourself this transformative question: how can I use this specific challenge as training? If it is testing your patience, then this is your patience drill. If it demands creative problem solving, then it is your creativity gym. By identifying the virtue it calls for, you stop fighting the obstacle and start working with it. You begin to walk the path it has laid right at your feet. Your own mind is a constant stream of commentary, but you are not that running narrative. You are the quiet awareness observing it from the shore. This mental shift is the essence of cognitive distancing, a simple yet profound technique for creating immediate space between you and your thoughts. It is the practice of labeling your internal experiences as passing events, not as undeniable truths that you must obey. Epictetus laid the groundwork for this when he observed that we are disturbed not by things, but by the views we take of them. Your thought, "My boss is angry with me," is not a fact. It is a mental event, a hypothesis your mind has generated. The distress comes when you fuse with that thought, when you accept it without question and let it dictate your emotional state. Cognitive distancing is the tool that breaks that fusion. When a wave of anxiety about a future event crashes over you, instead of being swept away by the feeling, you mentally step back. You observe the thought itself. You might literally say to yourself, "I am having the thought that I am going to fail this presentation." This simple act of labeling transforms your relationship to the worry. It is no longer a command from within that you must follow. It is merely a sentence your mind has produced, one you can examine with curiosity instead of fear. The thought loses its urgent, tyrannical power. You create a gap, a moment of freedom, where you can choose your response rather than being hijacked by a reaction. The next time a strong, anxious thought arises, perhaps a surge of jealousy or a pang of self-doubt, try this. Pause and silently frame it. "I am noticing a feeling of jealousy. I am having the thought that I am not good enough." How does the emotional charge shift when you hold it at arm's length, acknowledging its presence without letting it become your entire identity? You set a goal, you work hard, but do you tie your happiness to the result? This is where a subtle but powerful Stoic practice comes into play, a mental safety net known as the reserve clause. It is the simple act of adding an unspoken phrase to every plan and ambition, fate permitting. This is not a cynical expectation for failure. It is a profound method for investing your entire effort into an action while gracefully accepting that the final outcome is never entirely in your hands. Seneca captured this spirit perfectly when he wrote about making plans while always holding fortune in regard. He advised that we should say to ourselves, "I will sail across the ocean if nothing prevents me." This mental clause creates a crucial distinction between your arena of action and the world's arena of results. You commit to doing your part with excellence, but you release your desperate grip on the specific outcome you imagined. Think about planning a long-awaited vacation. You research the perfect location, book the flights, and envision sunny days. You pour your energy into the planning, which is within your control. But then, a week before departure, a family emergency arises, forcing you to cancel everything. Without the reserve clause, this event can feel like a personal failure or a profound injustice, shattering your happiness. With a reserve clause quietly in place, your perspective shifts. You recognize that you did your part flawlessly, but fate did not permit this particular outcome. Your serenity remains intact because your well-being was never chained to the trip itself, but to the integrity of your effort and your ability to adapt with grace. The goal was always prefaced by an invisible acknowledgement of life's uncertainty. Now, bring this practice to a goal you have for this very week. It might be finishing a work project, having a difficult conversation, or sticking to a new exercise routine. In your mind, attach those silent words to your intention. I will complete this project to the best of my ability, fate permitting. I will approach that conversation with honesty and compassion, fate permitting. This is not a wishy-washy commitment. It is the ultimate commitment to what you can truly control, your own action, while making peace with the beautiful, unpredictable tapestry of life itself. We often hear the call to live naturally, but the Stoics gave this phrase a revolutionary meaning. What does it mean to live a natural life according to these ancient philosophers? For them, it was a twofold path, a harmony between your own human nature and the vast, intelligent nature of the cosmos itself. Your human nature is your unique gift of reason, your capacity for clear judgment and moral choice. Cosmic nature is the grand, unfolding plan of the universe, the logical chain of cause and effect that Stoics called the logos. To live well is to use your reason excellently while willingly accepting your part in that universal plan. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno, defined the goal of life as living in agreement with nature. This is the Stoic definition of virtue and the very essence of a good life. It means your inner world of thoughts and choices is aligned with the outer reality of how things truly are. Acting on a sudden flash of anger is a classic example of violating your nature. The impulse is irrational, a temporary storm that clouds your capacity for thoughtful response. It feels powerful in the moment, but it leaves chaos in its wake. In contrast, acting with reasoned purpose is like a steady current. You might feel the same initial spark of anger, but you pause. You use your rational faculty to assess the situation. Is this a genuine injustice that requires a firm, assertive response? If so, you communicate your position with clarity and control, your words chosen by reason, not rage. This is living in accordance with your nature. You are using your highest human tool for its proper purpose. Now, bring to mind one action you took recently. It might have been a snap decision, a conversation, or how you spent an hour of free time. Gently ask yourself, was that action driven by an irrational impulse, or was it guided by my reasoned judgment? Did it feel like a surrender to a passing feeling, or a choice made from my core principles? This simple reflection is how you begin to audit your alignment with nature, tuning your daily life to the profound and serene rhythm of the Stoic good life. What if you chose discomfort on purpose to become stronger? This is the provocative heart of the Stoic practice known as voluntary discomfort, a method for deliberately and temporarily embracing minor hardship to inoculate your soul against future fear. You are not punishing yourself, you are training. The goal is to build a resilience so deep that the loss of external comforts cannot shake your inner peace. Seneca, a man of immense wealth, would regularly practice living on simple bread and water, sleeping on a hard bed, and wearing coarse clothing. He did this to remind himself, I have all that I need, even when I have very little. By willingly experiencing a small taste of lack, he vaccinated his mind against the terror of poverty, proving to himself that his happiness was independent of his material circumstances. This practice systematically weakens the power that comfort and convenience hold over your psyche. You prove to your own nervous system that you can handle more than you think. Think of it like a mental immune system. A vaccine introduces a tiny, manageable amount of a virus to teach your body how to defend itself. Voluntary discomfort does the same for your spirit. It introduces a small, controlled dose of hardship so that when life inevitably brings a larger challenge, you are not paralyzed by fear. You have already walked through a similar, smaller fire and emerged unscathed. The applications are profoundly simple. You could start your day with a 1-minute cold shower. the initial shock is a direct confrontation with your desire for ease. You consciously choose to stay under the water, breathing through the discomfort, and in that moment, you are building the same mental muscle you will need to face a stressful work meeting or a personal setback. You are practicing the art of standing firm in the face of an unpleasant sensation. Or you could skip a single meal, not for dieting, but for the mental clarity of experiencing a manageable hunger and discovering that it does not control you. You could choose to walk to the store instead of driving, feeling the weather on your skin and embracing the minor effort. Each of these small acts is a vote for your own self-reliance. So this week, make a pact with yourself. Commit to one single, small act of voluntary discomfort. It could be as simple as turning off the heating in your car for a short drive, or taking the stairs instead of the elevator. As you do it, pay close attention. Notice the initial resistance, the urge to retreat to comfort. Then, observe the quiet confidence that emerges when you realize you are okay. You are not just enduring a cold shower, you are forging an unbreakable core, one deliberate chill at a time. The Stoics had a diagram for empathy, a set of circles within circles. Picture a stone dropped into a still pond, creating ripples that expand outward indefinitely. Now imagine yourself as that stone, at the very center of those rings. The first, tightest circle is your own mind and body. The next ring holds your immediate family. Then comes your extended family, followed by your local community, your country, and finally, the entire human race. This is the circle of hierarchs, a visual model for understanding our natural bonds and responsibilities. The Stoic teacher hierarchs used this image not as a description of how we live, but as a prescription for how we ought to grow. He suggested that our fundamental task is to constantly draw the outer circles inward, to bring the concerns of strangers closer to the concern we feel for ourselves. This is the systematic cultivation of compassion, moving from a narrow self-interest to a genuine sense of being a citizen of the world, a cosmopolitan. The goal is to make the distinction between a relative and a stranger meaningless in terms of our fundamental care for their well-being. Think of a current event where a distant community is suffering from a natural disaster. Our initial, automatic reaction might be a flicker of sympathy, but it remains abstract, safely contained in that outer ring. The practice of drawing the circles in asks you to actively bridge that gap. You consciously bring that community into a closer circle. You might ask yourself, what if that were my town? What if those were the streets my children walked? This mental shift is not about feeling guilty. It is about generating genuine empathy, which then naturally inspires action. It might lead you to donate to a relief fund, or simply to hold those people in your thoughts with a more profound sense of shared humanity. The practice extends to your daily life as well. That difficult coworker you struggle with exists in a circle just outside your close friends. The practice is to consciously draw their circle closer. You make an effort to understand their pressures, to see the world from their perspective. You treat them not as an obstacle, but as a fellow human deserving of patience and respect, thereby collapsing the artificial boundary between you. So take a quiet moment and mentally map your own circles. Who resides in your innermost ring, who sits in the next, and the one after that. Now, identify one person or group currently in an outer circle. What is one small, practical step you can take this week to draw their circle in closer to your center? It could be a kind word to a neighbor you usually pass by, or a deliberate effort to learn about the challenges faced by people in a country you have never visited. Each time you perform this act, you are not just being nice, you are actively retraining your mind to see the entire human family as your own. In a world of constant noise, the Stoics sought the clarity found in quiet. They understood that serenity is not found by adding more to our lives, but by courageously subtracting the non-essential, starting with the endless chatter that fills our days. This practice of intentional silence and solitude was not an escape from responsibility, but an active method for recalibrating the mind, a deliberate disconnection from external demands to forge a deeper connection with your own inner wisdom. Seneca wrote powerfully about this need for retreat, advising, "You must retreat into yourself as much as possible. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving. The process is mutual, for people learn while they teach." His point was profound. To engage meaningfully with the world, you must first cultivate a rich inner world. The silence he championed is not empty but full of potential, a fertile ground where your judgments can be examined and your character strengthened away from the distorting influence of popular opinion. Imagine ending your day not by scrolling through a screen, but by sitting in a chair for just 10 minutes with all devices powered down. The goal is not to achieve a blank mind, but to become a calm observer of the mind's activity. You notice the mental replay of a tense conversation, the anxiety about tomorrow's tasks, all without getting swept away by them. In that quiet space, you can apply the Stoic tools you have learned, asking if those worries are within your control or merely impressions to be questioned. Another simple application is the quiet walk, where you leave the headphones at home. Instead of consuming more content, you pay full attention to the rhythm of your steps, the feeling of the air, the shapes of the clouds. This is not a waste of time. It is an investment in your mental sovereignty, a way to drain the stress from your nervous system and return to your inner citadel. So I challenge you to make this abstract idea real. Before this day ends, schedule just 15 minutes of pure, uninterrupted solitude. Find a quiet space, set a timer, and simply be present with yourself. Do not seek any specific outcome. Just notice what thoughts and feelings arise without judgment. What do you discover when you stop filling the silence and finally listen? Stoic apathy is not the absence of feeling, but the profound freedom from being enslaved by your feelings. This crucial distinction lies at the heart of apatheia, a state of inner tranquility where your judgment remains clear, unclouded by the storms of irrational passion. The Stoics were not aiming to become unfeeling statues. They sought to become the calm captain in the midst of a gale, fully aware of the wind and waves but master of the ship. The ideal Stoic sage is not numb, but profoundly undisturbed by the destructive forces of raw, unchecked emotion. Epictetus framed this as our essential task, stating, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Your anger, your fear, your craving, these are the internal tyrants apatheia seeks to dethrone. Picture a typical moment of road rage. Another driver cuts you off, and a surge of hot anger floods your system. Without apatheia, this passion takes full control. You might honk your horn, shout, or even tailgate, your rational mind completely hijacked by the emotion. Your judgment is clouded, and you are now a passenger in your own body, driven by a destructive impulse. Now replay that same scenario with the tool of apatheia. You feel the exact same initial jolt of anger, the biological reaction. But instead of letting it seize the wheel, you acknowledge its presence. You observe it, label it, "I'm feeling a surge of anger right now." This simple act of recognition creates a critical gap. In that space, your reason can reassert itself. You can ask, is this emotion serving me? Is this driver's action worth sacrificing my peace and safety? The answer is almost always a clear no. From that place of calm clarity, you take a deep breath. You create space between your car and theirs, and you continue your journey with your serenity intact. The provocation was the same, but your inner state was entirely different. You felt the emotion without becoming the emotion. Now, bring to mind a recent moment from your own life when a powerful feeling, perhaps jealousy or anxiety, dictated your actions. Recall how it felt to be carried away by that current. What would have been different if you had been able to simply observe that feeling arise, acknowledge its presence, and then choose your response from a place of calm reason? That space of choice is the essence of apatheia, the ultimate inner liberation that turns every emotional trigger into an opportunity for mastery. The Stoics armed themselves with short, powerful sentences to carry in their minds. These maxims were not just quotes to be read and admired, but active tools, mental anchors to be deployed the moment a wave of anxiety or anger began to rise. In the space of a single breath, a well-chosen phrase could realign their entire perspective, snapping them back to a state of reasoned calm. It was like having a pocket-sized philosopher whispering essential wisdom directly into their ear at the precise moment it was needed most. These mantras served as instant reminders, cutting through the noise of a reactive mind to restate a fundamental Stoic truth. When faced with a frustrating delay, the thought, "This too shall pass," transforms the experience from an unbearable nuisance into a temporary, manageable event. Upon receiving a harsh criticism, the maxim, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it," shifts your focus from the external attack to your internal, sovereign response. The power lies in the preemptive programming of your own mind. You are essentially installing a wiser, calmer voice that speaks up automatically when your baser instincts start to shout. To bring this from theory into your daily life, make the maxim tangible. Write your chosen phrase on a sticky note and place it on your bathroom mirror or your computer monitor. Set it as the lock screen on your phone so you see it dozens of times a day. The goal is not just to see the words, but to internalize their rhythm and meaning until they become a reflexive part of your inner dialogue. So, from all the wisdom we have explored, choose just one Stoic maxim that resonates with you right now. It could be the simple power of "this too shall pass," or the defiant strength of "the obstacle is the way." For the next 24 hours, carry that phrase with you intentionally. Repeat it to yourself silently when you feel stress building, when you are about to enter a difficult conversation, or when you are simply waiting in line. Notice how this small, deliberate act changes the quality of your day, turning philosophy from a concept into a constant, quiet companion. The Stoics practiced gratitude not because life was perfect, but because it was a powerful way to see it clearly. This practice, known as Eucharistia, was far more than a positive thinking exercise. It was a disciplined method of retraining your perception, a daily recalibration of your mind to recognize the immense bounty of preferred indifference that the universe has provided you, even amidst hardship. Everything you possess, from your health to your home, is on loan from the cosmos. Gratitude is the act of acknowledging that loan with clear-eyed appreciation before it is inevitably called due. Marcus Aurelius began his days with this precise mental ritual. In his private meditations, he would list the things he was thankful for, writing, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." He expressed gratitude for his teachers, for his family, and even for the simple functioning of his own body. This was not a naive denial of his immense burdens as emperor, but a conscious choice to anchor his day in what was working, in what was good and worthy of his attention. You can build this same anchor into your own life with a simple nightly routine. Before you sleep, take your journal or simply a quiet moment to list 3 specific things you are grateful for from the day. The key is to move beyond generalities. Do not just write family. Instead, write the way my partner made me laugh this evening over dinner. Do not just write health. Write the feeling of strength in my legs during my walk today. This specificity forces you to mine your day for the small, often overlooked blessings, the minor miracles you typically rush past. It transforms gratitude from a vague concept into a vivid, sensory recollection. So tonight, as you prepare to end your day, perform this exercise. What 3 specific, small things from today can you acknowledge with genuine thankfulness? Perhaps it was the warmth of your coffee, the clarity of a single thought, or the quiet comfort of your bed. In naming them, you are not ignoring life's difficulties. You are simply choosing to also see the light, and in doing so, you cultivate an unshakable contentment that no external circumstance can easily take away. The Stoics did not just read philosophy, they found teachers in the lives of great men and women. They understood that abstract principles about virtue and courage needed living, breathing examples to make them real. This practice of studying and emulating role models or exemplars transformed ethical theory into a tangible blueprint for daily conduct. By observing how a virtuous person navigated real-world challenges, they gained a template for their own moral development. Seneca wrote extensively about this, advising his friend Lucilius to choose a model of the good life, a Cato or a Laelius or a Socrates. Keep this person before your eyes, he urged, and live as if they were watching you. This was not about creating an unattainable idol, but about internalizing a standard of excellence, providing a constant source of inspiration and a check on your own behavior. When you face a difficult choice, you can ask a more powerful question than what is the right thing to do. You can ask, what would my exemplar do in this situation? This shifts the frame from a cold calculation to a personal challenge, invoking the moral courage of a figure you deeply admire. Consider the steadfastness of Cato the Younger, who chose to take his own life rather than live under the tyranny of Julius Caesar, a final act of defiance in the name of the republic he loved. His life was a masterclass in unwavering integrity. Now, bring that spirit to a modern dilemma, like witnessing an injustice at your workplace where speaking up carries a personal risk. How would Cato approach this? He would not calculate the cost to his career first. He would assess the moral imperative and act with principled courage, regardless of the consequence. This does not mean you must replicate his extreme actions, but you can channel his unwavering commitment to what is right. Or consider the serene acceptance of Socrates, who calmly drank the hemlock after being unjustly sentenced to death, using his final moments to discuss the nature of the soul with his grieving friends. When you are confronted with a circumstance you cannot change, a diagnosis or a sudden loss, asking how Socrates would face it invites a profound calm and a focus on your reasoned response rather than on the injustice of the event itself. So take a moment to identify one person, historical or contemporary, whose character you genuinely admire. It could be a public figure known for their compassion, a historical leader renowned for their wisdom, or even a family member whose quiet dignity has always inspired you. What single quality of theirs do you most wish to emulate in your own life? Is it their patience, their honesty, their resilience? By naming that trait, you move beyond vague admiration and create a specific, personal goal for your own growth, turning the wisdom of the ages into a daily practice of becoming. Are your desires serving your peace of mind or robbing you of it? This is the central question of the Stoic discipline of desire, the practice of training your wants to align only with what is virtuous and entirely within your command. It is about scrutinizing the things you yearn for and asking a simple, ruthless question: will obtaining this truly bring me lasting serenity, or will it merely create a new dependency, a fresh source of potential disturbance? The philosopher Epictetus framed this as the very foundation of a good life, teaching that freedom is secured not by the fulfillment of your desires, but by their removal. He instructed his students to limit their desire to what is up to us and to be detached in our attitude toward what is not up to us. This is not about suppressing all want, but about redirecting it with precision. You learn to desire only your own good character, your own reasoned actions, and your own virtuous responses, because these are the only things that can never be taken from you. Everything else is a preferred or dispreferred indifferent, something you may enjoy if it comes, but never something you require for your inner peace. Consider the desire to win a competition. This outcome depends on the skill of your opponents, the judgment of the referees, even a moment of random chance. It lies largely outside your control. To tie your happiness to this external prize is to hand over the keys to your serenity to forces you cannot command. You set yourself up for frustration and despair. Now contrast that with the desire to perform with excellence. This is entirely within your power. You can desire to train with full commitment, to focus completely during the event, to execute your skills to the very best of your ability. This desire aligns with virtue, specifically the virtue of courage and self-mastery. Whether you win or lose becomes secondary. Your fulfillment comes from knowing you left nothing on the table, that you acted with integrity and purpose. The result is a profound liberation. You are no longer a beggar pleading with the world for a specific outcome. You are an artist, and your own effort is your masterpiece. Bring to mind one strong desire you are holding right now. It might be for a promotion, for a certain person to act a particular way, or for a specific material possession. Now hold that desire up to the clear light of this Stoic discipline. Ask yourself two questions. Is the object of this desire truly within my control? And does the pursuit of it align with the virtues I wish to cultivate, like justice, wisdom, or temperance? The answer will immediately reveal whether this desire is a building block for your inner citadel or a hidden charge of dynamite placed at its foundation. For the Stoics, wisdom and justice were meaningless if not applied to help fellow humans. This was not a suggestion but a profound duty, a natural extension of the virtue they held as the only true good. To be a good person was to be a good citizen of the world, actively contributing to the common welfare. This imperative flows directly from the concept of Sympatheia, the understanding that we are all interconnected parts of a single whole. Just as your hand naturally works to feed your mouth, your rational nature compels you to act for the benefit of the entire human body to which you belong. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully in his private writings, reminding himself, men exist for the sake of one another. Either teach them then or bear with them. He saw his own station as emperor not as a position of privilege, but as a platform for service, a role demanding constant action for the good of his people. This is where philosophy meets the pavement of daily life. Your own fulfillment is not found in isolating yourself from the world, but in weaving your actions into the fabric of your community. Think of it as the ultimate application of your inner citadel. The unshakable peace you cultivate within is not meant to be hoarded. It is a resource that allows you to engage with the world's problems from a place of strength and compassion, rather than burnout and resentment. The practice can begin with the smallest of gestures. It could be the deliberate act of patiently mentoring a junior colleague at work, sharing your knowledge without expectation of reward. It might be offering your seat on a crowded bus to a stranger, a simple acknowledgement of their presence and comfort. On a larger scale, it could mean volunteering a few hours each month at a local food bank or community garden, physically planting seeds of goodwill that nourish both the recipient and your own sense of purpose. These are not random acts of kindness. They are disciplined practices of justice and fellowship, the living expression of your Stoic principles. So this week, I extend a challenge to you. Perform one single act of service entirely anonymously. It could be paying for the coffee of the person behind you in line, leaving a thoughtful note for a coworker to find, or donating to a cause without telling a soul. As you do it, pay close attention not to their reaction, for you will not see it, but to the quiet feeling that arises within you. What shifts in your own sense of connection and purpose when you give without any desire for recognition or return? The Stoics found serenity by regularly looking up at the stars and contemplating the cosmos. They saw in the vast, orderly dance of the heavens a perfect mirror for the inner order they sought to cultivate. This was not an escape from earthly troubles, but a profound reorientation of their entire perspective. By immersing their minds in the sheer scale of the universe, their personal anxieties and egoic concerns would naturally shrink to their proper, humble size. They were reminded that they were a single, small part of a magnificent and intelligent whole, a realization that brought not insignificance, but a profound sense of belonging. The philosopher Cleans expressed this feeling of awe and connection in his hymn to Zeus, writing, "Nothing occurs on the earth without you, God, nor in the divine heavenly vault nor on the sea, except what bad people do in their folly." He saw a divine reason, a logos, woven through all of existence, from the grandest orbit of a planet to the smallest act of human virtue. To contemplate the cosmos was to witness this intelligence in action, reinforcing the natural order they were meant to align their lives with. Marcus Aurelius too turned his gaze upward for solace, reflecting in his meditations that the soul is an emanation from the stars, a spark of the same cosmic fire that animates the universe. This practice is readily available to us today. You do not need a powerful telescope to begin. The simple act of stepping outside on a clear night and truly looking up at the pinpricks of ancient light is a modern form of this Stoic exercise. Visit a planetarium and let the scale of the projected galaxies wash over you, or even more accessibly, make a point to watch a sunset, observing the intricate play of light and color as our own planet performs its daily turn. These moments of deliberate observation are not idle pastimes. They are active training for the soul. Tonight, before you retreat inside, I challenge you to spend just 5 minutes in stillness, observing the sky or the quiet grandeur of a natural landscape. As you do, let this question rest in your mind. What changes within you when you consider your life not as an isolated drama, but as a brief, beautiful note in a symphony that has been playing for billions of years? Everything you have and everyone you love is on loan from the universe. Nothing in this world is given to you permanently. The Stoics understood this fundamental truth not as a source of dread, but as the very foundation for a life of deep appreciation and profound serenity. This is the acceptance of impermanence, a clear-eyed recognition that all things, from your most cherished possessions to your own life, are transient. It is a call to hold everything with an open hand, not a clenched fist. Marcus Aurelius returned to this theme constantly in his private writings, reminding himself, "Keep in mind how fast things pass by and are gone, those that are now and those to come." Existence flows past us like a river. He was not being morbid. He was anchoring his soul in reality, building his peace on the solid ground of how things truly are, rather than the fragile illusion of permanence. When you internalize that everything is temporary, a subtle but powerful shift occurs. You stop taking moments for granted. The conversation with a friend becomes more precious because you know it will end. The warmth of the sun on your skin feels like a gift because you know the clouds will eventually return. This awareness does not rob life of its joy. It concentrates it, infusing the ordinary with a quiet intensity. Consider the changing seasons. You do not watch the brilliant autumn leaves with sadness, knowing they will fall. You admire their fiery beauty precisely because you understand their brief lifespan. Their impermanence is what makes them spectacular. Or think about the end of a major project you have poured your heart into. The final presentation is over, the team disbands, and the intense focus of the last few months evaporates. Instead of feeling a void, you can choose to appreciate the journey itself, the skills you gained, and the camaraderie you shared. The project's end was always part of its story, and accepting that brings a peaceful closure, not a sense of loss. This practice transforms your relationship with everything you own. Look around the room you are in right now. Every object, from the most functional to the most sentimental, has a finite lifespan. It will eventually break, be lost, or be passed on to someone else. This is not a reason for despair, but for gratitude. You get to enjoy it now. To make this real, find a small object you value, hold it in your hand. Feel its weight and texture. Now close your eyes and consciously practice letting it go. Acknowledge that it is not truly yours to keep forever. It is a temporary guest in your life. When you open your eyes, does the object seem less valuable, or does your appreciation for its current presence feel sharper and more vivid? That feeling of lightness, that subtle sense of freedom, is the gift of non-attachment. It is the quiet understanding that your peace does not depend on any single thing outside of you, because nothing outside of you is built to last. What happens when you deliberately say no to a pleasure you usually say yes to? This simple act of refusal is the core of the Stoic method of self-denial, a powerful experiment to test your true freedom. It is not about punishing yourself, but about proving to your own mind that you are the one in command, not your cravings or comforts. The Stoic teacher Musonius Rufus championed this training, arguing that practice is more powerful than argument. He taught that to be good is not enough. To be truly good, you must be trained to be good. Abstaining from a pleasure is like a drill for the soul, a practical test that builds the muscle of self-mastery far more effectively than just thinking about it. You are demonstrating in a tangible way that your will is stronger than your want. Every time you choose to forego a comfort, you weaken its psychological grip on you and strengthen your inner citadel. Consider the habitual scroll through social media. It offers a quick hit of distraction, a small pleasure you likely indulge without a second thought. Now imagine committing to a full 24 hours without it. The initial urge to check your phone will feel powerful, almost automatic. But in that moment of resistance, you are conducting the experiment. You are observing the pull of the habit and consciously deciding not to be pulled. The insight you gain is not that social media is bad, but that you are stronger than the impulse to use it. You prove your independence or take the simple pleasure of a sweet dessert after dinner. By choosing to skip it for a week, you are not declaring war on sugar. You are engaging in a dialogue with your own discipline. You learn that the world does not end without that nightly treat, and in the space it leaves, you might discover a new clarity or a different kind of satisfaction. The goal is to move from being a passenger of your habits to the pilot of your actions. So, your challenge is this: choose one small, habitual pleasure to forego for the next 24 hours. It could be that second cup of coffee, the background television, or the convenience of taking an elevator. Carry a small notebook with you, and each time you feel the urge for that comfort, jot down what you feel in that moment. Is it boredom, anxiety, or just empty habit? What do you discover about your own mind when you remove that small, automatic cushion? This journal is your data, the tangible proof of your growing self-command. Your mind is now equipped with a complete set of ancient blueprints for modern serenity. This is the Stoic Toolbox, a collection of mental objects, symbols, and methods designed not for a life of passive retreat, but for one of active, resilient engagement. You have learned to navigate with the compass of the dichotomy of control, separating what you command from what you do not. You have gained perspective through the cosmic lens of the view from above, shrinking daily anxieties to their true size. And you have been reminded by the symbol of Memento Mori to infuse your finite time with purpose and passion. Each tool, from the inner citadel to the love of fate, is a practical instrument for crafting a life of unshakable inner peace. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus perfectly captured this spirit when he declared that the philosopher's classroom is not a lecture hall, but a workshop. The things taught here must be in your hands, he said, and you must be using them. This is your invitation to step into that workshop. Look back over the tools we have explored together. Which one single practice will you pick up and use today? Will it be the evening journal to review your day, or the pause of the discipline of assent before you react? The choice is yours, and the workshop is always open. If you found this journey into practical wisdom valuable, consider subscribing for more guides to navigating life with clarity and calm. And we would love to hear from you in the comments below. Which tool from the Stoic Toolbox resonated most deeply with you?